Hi guys, it's Barry Joyce from Smart. Welcome to this next video. This is a series of videos where we're going through all the categories on the CSCS test. Now, if you've been following the videos, you will know there are approximately 710, 11-ish questions on the CSCS test. Out of those 710 questions, you are getting 50. Of course, we don't know what 50 you're going to get. And out of those 50 questions, they are all broken down into the 16 categories that's in front of us here. Now, the link for all the other categories will be in the description. So you're going to get various different numbers of questions on each category. So for this category, we're going to go into excavations and confined space. And as you can see here, there are 27 questions in this particular category. On your CSCS test, you're going to get 4 of these questions that we're going to look at now. So just a quick little tip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give you the correct answers. I'm going to try. And along the way, give you some tips and hints along the way to help you understand this category. Now, excavations and confined space, it's a highly dangerous activity. An excavation is just a hole, just replace it with a hole. An excavator is a digger. We may come across the excavators when we done site transport, but it is the digger that digs it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click OK, and they're one of 27 questions. Now, as per every other category that I've been doing, I get to read the questions. I'll read the questions out, or I get the computer to read them out. I highly suggest and recommend you do the same for your CSCS test. Get the headphones, read them out. You're going to be in your own zone. So I'll read the questions out, read the answers, and then hopefully give you the correct answers.
What must happen before each shift starts when working in an excavation? Someone must go in and sniff the air to see if it is safe. A supervisor should watch from the top for the first hour. A competent person must inspect the excavation. A supervisor should stay in the excavation for the first hour.
Okay, so when working in a confined space, you have to have a rescue team because of the high levels of danger in there. So you're going to be working in an excavation, i.e. you're working in a hole. So before you do that, a competent person must inspect the excavation. Now, any wordings that says trained, authorised and competent, pick it. It will be the answer.
What should you do if your permit to work in a confined space will run out before you finish the task you are carrying out? Carry on working until the job is finished. Hand the permit over to the next shift. Ask your supervisor to change the date on the permit. Leave the confined space before the permit runs out.
Okay, so because of the levels of danger, you're going to leave the confined space before the permit runs out. Never change it. Go and seek advice. Get out.
What should you do if you are in a confined space when the gas alarm sounds? Carry on working, but do not use electrical tools. Carry on working, but take plenty of breaks in the fresh air. Switch off the alarm. Get out of the confined space immediately.
Okay, it's a nice straightforward one. You're going to get out immediately. There's that word there, immediately. Whenever you see stop work immediately, get out immediately, always the answer.
You are in a deep trench. A lorry backs up to the trench and the engine is left running. What should you do? Put on ear defenders to cut out the engine noise. Get out of the trench quickly. See if there is a toxic gas meter in the trench. Ignore the problem, as the lorry will soon drive away.
Okay, so safety again, look, you're going to get out the trench immediately and as quick as you can.
What should you do if you have to work in a confined space but there is no rescue plan? Assume that a rescue team or plan is not necessary and do the job. Get someone to stand at the opening with a rope. Carry out the job in short spells. Do not enter until a rescue plan is in place.
So the rescue plan is put in place in case to start with emergency procedures if required. So you would not enter that excavation or confined space until the rescue plan is put in place.
Work in a confined space usually needs a risk assessment, a method statement, and what other safety document? An up-to-date staff handbook, a permit to enter, a written contract for the work, a company health and safety policy.
Okay, we mentioned before, whenever you're into a confined space, you have to have a permit to enter.
What is the main hazard when working in an excavation? Crushing, if the sides are not supported. Trips and falls due to the space restriction. Cuts and abrasions from the trench sides. Breathing in hazardous dust from the earth.
Okay, so it could be a bit of a tricky one for a few people on this end, because some people may think it could be one or two answers. Firstly, let's just look at it. The main. So what is the main? And then the hazard. So you should know by now a hazard is something that has the potential to cause harm. What is the main thing that's going to cause you harm there? Well, when you're looking at it, it's going to be crushing if the sides are not supported, or battened back or stepped. So your sides have always got to be supported regardless of the depth of the excavation.
What should you do if you see the side supports move when you are working in an excavation? Nothing. The sides are expected to move all the time. Work in another part of the excavation instead. Make sure that you and other workers get out quickly. Keep working and watch to see if they move again.
Okay, again, nice straightforward one. There's the work there. Get out immediately, get out quickly. It's always going to be the answer.
What 3 things should you do before entering a confined space that has sludge at the bottom? Throw something into the sludge to see how deep it is. Put on a disposable dust mask. Have the correct training. Make sure that the space has been tested for gas. Identify what the sludge is.
Okay, so this one's asking for 3 things. So let's have a look at them. You're not going to throw something in to see how deep. Well, you put a disposable mask on. Excuse me. You're definitely going to need the correct training. Make sure it's been tested for gas. That looks like an answer. And you want to know what the sludge is. Let's just drag those over. Now, a good tip when you come to these type of questions, just have a look at the ones that's left. Are you really going to throw something in to see how deep it is? You're not. Are you going to put a disposable dust mask on? No, because you're going to need respiratory protective equipment, which is your respirator. So I'm going to stick with those 3. Correct training, being tested for gas, and identify what the sludge is.
Why is methane gas dangerous in confined spaces? Give 2 answers. You will not be able to see because of the dense fumes. It makes you hyperactive. It can explode. It makes you dehydrated. You may not have enough oxygen to breathe.
Okay, so methane gas, highly explosive and with a really distinctive smell. So you're not able to see because the dense fumes. No, it's not going to make you. It definitely can explode, and it may take the levels of oxygen away to make you breathe.
What might happen if the level of oxygen drops below 8% in a confined space? Your hearing could be affected. You could become unconscious. You might get dehydrated. There is a high risk of fire or explosion.
Okay, so levels of oxygen, it's going to make you become unconscious.
Identify which of the following is best suited for accessing an excavation. A step ladder, a secured ladder, a harness and pulley, a cherry picker.
Okay, so this is a typical good answer where people can trip up on. So identify which of the following is best suited for accessing an excavation. Remember, an excavation is just a hole. So are you gonna use a step ladder? Possibly, or you're gonna use a secure ladder. You're definitely not going to use a harness, a pulley, and a cherry picker. So a secured ladder. Now, anything that says secured, anchor points, designated, picket, it's there for a reason.
What should you do if you are in a deep trench and you start to feel dizzy? Sit down in the trench and take a rest. Make sure that you and any others get out quickly and report it. Carry on working and hope that the feeling will go away. Get out, let your head clear, and then go back in again.
Again, there's the key word, and get out quickly and report it. Always going to be the answer.
When working in a confined space, what is it a sign of if there is a smell of rotten eggs? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, methane.
Okay, oxygen, it's fresh air. It's what the atmosphere is made up with. Carbon dioxide is odourless and you can't see it. Hydrosulfate does have the smell of rotten eggs, and methane gas has a distinctive smell. Now, hydrosulfate is the build-up of rotten organic substances which can make you unconscious and disable your smell.
What is the best course of action to take if a buried cable is hit and damaged when digging? Move the cable out of the way and carry on digging. Dig around the cable or dig somewhere else. Do not touch the cable, stop work and report it. Wait 10 seconds and then move the cable out of the way.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going to insult intelligence there. Just stop work, but these are always going to be the answers. Guys, any times where it says stop work, immediately report it is always going to be the answer on any category.
According to the guidance on underground service pipes, what does a yellow service pipe carry? Water, gas, telecoms, electricity.
So as I mentioned earlier on, all your service pipes is your gas, your water, electric, etc. And your yellow pipe is gas.
When should an excavation be battered back or stepped? If it is more than 5 metres deep. If there is a risk of the sides falling in regardless of depth. If any buried services cross the excavation. If there is water in the bottom of the trench.
Okay, so when should the hole be battered back or stepped? It is B. So if there is a risk regardless of the depth, it's a bit like manual handling. Working at height. The definition of working at height is a fall of any height. It's the same as here. So you should be battened back and stepped regardless of the depth.
What do guardrails around the top of an excavation prevent? The sides of the trench collapsing. Toxic gases collecting in the bottom of the trench. People falling into the trench and being injured. Rainwater running off the ground at the top and into the trench.
So your guardrails is just like a fencing or a hoarding, so it's going to prevent people from falling into the trench and being injured.
At what point should excavations be inspected? Only if there is spare time to do so. At the beginning and end of every weekday. Immediately after reaching maximum depth and once a week after this. At the start of each shift or after events that might affect stability.
Okay, so this one you're gonna it's like checking your tools. You're always going to check things at the start of each shift, or if something has actually happened.
What is the safest way to get into and out of a deep excavation? Use the shoring or trench supports. Use the buried surfaces as steps. Use an excavator bucket. Use a fixed staircase.
Now, if you have a look at this logically, it can only be one answer. You're not going to use the trench supports. You're not going to use the buried surfaces, the steps, that's your pipes. You're not going to use the excavator bucket, i.e. the digger. And you're always going to use a fixed staircase. Remember, anything that's fixed, it's there for a reason. Pick it.
What equipment should be used when digging near to underground electrical services? A jackhammer, an excavator, a pick and fork, an insulated spade.
You've got it.
What does it mean if a run of coloured marker tape is found when digging? There is a buried service and further excavation must be carried out with care. The excavation now requires side supports. There are buried human remains and you must tell your supervisor. The soil is contaminated and you must wear respiratory protective equipment, RPE.
Okay, so when you see the coloured marker tape, then that means potentially there are buried surfaces and further excavation must be carried out with care, i.e. insulated spades.
What is the most important reason why people should be trained and competent before they are allowed to enter a confined space? Confined spaces are only found on house building sites. Confined spaces never contain breathable air. Confined space entrants need to understand the potential hazards. Confined spaces always contain flammable or explosive gases.
Okay, of course, we've said it's a highly dangerous activity, so the entrants must understand the potential hazards. Remember, the hazard is something that has the potential to cause you harm. The risk is the likelihood of that happening.
What is it likely to mean if the soil gives off a strange smell when digging? The soil contains a lot of clay. The ground has been used to grow crops in the past. The soil has been excavated before. The ground could be contaminated.
Yeah, anything that's a strange smell, it could lead to the ground being contaminated. Hyposulfate is one of the main ones, which is the buildup of rotten organic substances.
Which of these is the most accurate way to confirm the exact location of buried surfaces? Architect drawings, survey drawings, trial holes, cable plans.
Okay, so again, listen, it's understanding the question. The most accurate. Yes, listen, architect drawings, survey drawings are a good way, but are they the most accurate? No, because the ground moves. Trial holes are the most accurate. They are small little trenches that go around there, which will not move. So the answer is C, trial holes.
What is the main cause of people dying while working in a confined space? Cold conditions leading to hypothermia. Presence of methane. Lack of oxygen. Too much oxygen.
Straightforward, yeah, lack of oxygen.
What is the main reason for having a person positioned immediately outside a confined space while work is taking place inside it? To start the rescue plan if there is an emergency. To check compliance with the method statement. To supervise the work inside the confined space. To carry out a risk assessment for the work.
Okay, I mentioned it earlier on. It is actually to start a rescue plan if there is an emergency to be carried out. Okay, so that's your 27 questions there for excavations and confined spaces. Just remember, you are going to get 4 of those questions on your CSCS test. So again, I'll just remind you, read the question properly, get the headphones. I hope you're getting some useful hints out of that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.